I want to start with something that is going to be hard to hear. And I'm telling you anyway, because I think your child needs you to hear it. Right now, you are probably fighting harder than you have ever fought for anything in your life. You're documenting everything. You're building the case, gathering the evidence, trying to show everyone who this person really is behind the sweet mask that they put on for the rest of the world. And I understand that fight all the way down to my bones, because the fear underneath it is that if you stop for even 1 second, your child will be harmed. And the only way to protect them is to win this thing. But here's the part that almost no one will say out loud to you. The fight you are pouring yourself into, the one that is consuming your sleep and your money and your nervous system, might be the very thing that's draining the safety out of your child's home. And I don't mean the other parent's home, I mean yours. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the legal battle, as important and as real as it feels, is actually the least likely thing to protect your child's emotional world. And more than that, you're going to start to see where your energy is really going right now and what it might be quietly costing the little person you are trying so hard to save. I'm Dr. Naaila, and I have a doctorate in child development. So much of my work is about how a child's emotional world gets shaped inside exactly these dynamics, where one parent is emotionally unsafe and the other parent is doing everything they can to protect the child. But I'm not only speaking to you as someone who's studied this. I'm a bonus mom, and I came into a toxic co-parenting situation that was already unfolding. So I have lived inside of this, not just researched it. And I have sat where you are sitting. And I learned some of these lessons the hard way, which is exactly why I now support parents in these dynamics, so you don't have to piece it together yourself. And before we go any farther, if you're thinking, I don't need another video that helps me understand the problem, I understand the problem, I'm living the problem, and I need to know what to actually do about my child and my situation, then I want you to book a strategy session with me. This isn't therapy, it's strategy. We'll look at what your child is showing you, get clear on the patterns coming from the other parent, and figure out why what you've already been trying so far hasn't worked. So you can decide what kind of support will actually protect your child going forward. The link to book is in the description. Okay, let's get into it. I talk to a lot of parents who are fully focused on the legal battle, and I hear this story again and again. And I want to describe it gently because you might recognize a little of yourself in it. And that recognition is not a criticism. It's the most natural thing in the world. These parents truly believe that the family court system will hear their story and protect their child. So they become consumed by the fight, and their instincts often aren't wrong. They can see the manipulation clearly. They can see that the system isn't catching what they're catching. So every ounce of them goes into proving it, into being believed, into making sure that the truth finally lands somewhere it will make a difference. And that takes everything. It takes the sleep, the money, the focus, and most of all, it takes the nervous system, because you cannot fight a war and stay calm at the same time. And here's what that costs the child. This is the part I really want to slow down for, because almost nobody explains it to parents in the middle of a custody battle. And it's the thing I spent years studying, how a young child's emotions actually work. A young child does not regulate their own emotions. They can't yet. The part of the brain that does this work won't be finished developing for years, well into their 20s actually. So how does a small child calm down? They borrow it. They borrow regulation from the nervous system of a trusted adult nearby. We call this co-regulation, and it's not a soft, fluffy idea. It is the literal mechanism by which a child's body learns to settle. When you are calm, your child's body reads your calm and uses it like a tuning fork to find its own. And when you are flooded, when your body is bracing and scanning and bracing again, your child reads that too. And there is nothing steady for them to borrow from. And this is the part most parents miss. You do not have to say a single word about the case for your child to feel it. You can keep every detail of the legal fight completely away from them. And I hope you do. But a 4 or 5 or 6-year-old is not reading your words. They're reading your body, your tone, your reactivity, the way you answer their questions or ask them questions. The stress doesn't travel through information. It travels through your nervous system straight into theirs. So a parent can do everything right on paper, never bad-mouthing, never oversharing, and still be sending their child the signal all day long that this is not a safe place for them to put their guard down. Now, I want you to sit with what that does. We already know one home is emotionally unsafe. That's the whole reason you're fighting. But if the safe parent's home is also running on stress and hypervigilance, even quiet, well-hidden stress, then the child has nowhere left to exhale. There is no home where their body gets to fully calm down. And a child who never gets to come down does not get the conditions they need to build resilience or a secure attachment. Instead, they start to adapt. Some children turn inwards and go quiet and get anxious and start to lose touch with what they feel. Others drift towards the parent who seems more powerful or more certain, because at least that feels like solid ground. Either way, it isn't because a safe parent doesn't love them with everything they have. It's because love that's drowning in the fight can't become the steadiness a child's body actually needs. So I'll say the hard thing plainly, and then I'll tell you what to do with it. The courts were never built to rescue your child's emotional world. I genuinely wish they were. But the reality is that the courts rarely take meaningful custody away from a parent, especially when the harm is emotional rather than physical. Because the system holds tight to the belief that a child should have access to both parents no matter what, which means that even after the fight, even after all of it, your child is most likely still going to have real contact with this person, maybe half the time. Maybe after years and a fortune spent, you'll get it down to 20%. But in that 20%, the manipulation is still there. The fight doesn't make the contact safe for your child. It most likely just drains you, the parent who could have been the safe place to begin with. And I want to name what's really at stake here, because it's so much bigger than just this one custody arrangement. The research on this is honestly sobering. Some research suggests that half of the children who grow up with an alienating, manipulative parent end up in a toxic relationship themselves as adults. They grow up, they fall in love with someone who manipulates them the same way because it's familiar, because it's what love was modeled as. And then eventually they try to leave, and they end up alienated from their own children, and the whole cycle repeats. I see this in my work all the time. So many of the parents who come to me had a toxic parent of their own, and that's how they ended up in a toxic relationship in the first place. The cycle is right there in front of me, living and breathing. And I'll be honest with you about how I hold this, because I think it matters. I have a spiritual view of our journey. I believe a child comes into this world with a certain set of lessons they're meant to learn and a certain emotional strength that they're meant to grow into. And when a child is born to a parent who's going to manipulate them, that child has a particular kind of lesson in front of them. Here's the hard truth in that. Even if somehow you got your child completely away from this parent, they would still meet other people like this. Maybe it will be a teacher or a coach or a friend's parent or a partner one day. The world is full of people who will try to dismiss a child's feelings or make them carry an emotional weight that was never theirs to carry. So the real protection was never going to come from removing one person from your child's life. It comes from what you build inside your child, so they can recognize that kind of person and trust themselves no matter who they're standing in front of. And if you're sitting here realizing that your energy has been going almost entirely towards the fight and you don't know what it would look like to redirect it, that's exactly the conversation I have with parents on a strategy call. We map where your energy actually is going and where your child needs it instead. The link is in the description, and you can book a time that works for you. So if the fight isn't the answer, where do you even start? You start with the hardest thing, and it's also the thing that gives you your power back. It's called radical acceptance. And I don't mean it in some cold clinical way. To me, radical acceptance simply means that you let go of the hope that will never become a reality. You stop waiting for this person to magically become someone who they've never been. You can still hope, you can still pray, you can still wish with everything in you that they were different. But radical acceptance is the moment you finally say, this is what actually is, and the only thing I have power to change here is me and my home, because that's the truth. You cannot change them. You can only change what you bring to your child. I want to tell you about the moment I had to live this, not just to teach it, because it changed everything for me. And I'm going to keep some of the details private for my family, because protecting my bonus son's story is part of the very work that I'm describing. But I think you'll understand the shape of this immediately. When I first came into his life, he was very little, barely talking. And as he slowly started to find his words, he'd say little things here and there that worried us. But we'd tell ourselves maybe we misheard, maybe it's nothing. We heard this other parent say things that were emotionally harmful for him, small things and not so small things. And part of me kept making excuses. She's just bitter, she's hurt, she'll soften with time. I really wanted to believe that because I didn't believe that a parent would willfully harm their child. And then one day he repeated something to me that had supposedly happened between his parents, something that simply could not have been true, something that he had no way of knowing or remembering on his own. And in that moment, something in me went very still because I finally understood. This wasn't bitterness that was going to fade. This was a pattern, and it was being placed inside a child who trusted the person placing it. And as I dug deeper into this work, into narcissistic personalities and high conflict divorces and toxic co-parenting patterns, I realized just how many people are capable of this. How many will use their own child to serve the story that they need to tell. It was genuinely shocking to me. But it was also the thing that set me free, because once I truly accepted that she was never going to become the safe parent, no matter how convincingly she could play the part, I stopped waiting for her to change. And I put all of that energy into the only place that could ever do any good, our home, our child. That is what radical acceptance gives you. It's not giving up. It's the opposite. It's the moment that you take your power back from a person who has been holding it hostage and you put it somewhere it can finally do some good. So here's what I actually want you to do. And it's the first real step, even if it might not look like one from the outside. I want you to find the hope that you're still carrying, the one that's never going to become a reality. Almost every parent in this situation is holding onto a quiet sentence that they've never said out loud. It sounds something like, if I can just get it in front of the right judge, they'll finally see it. Or maybe once the divorce is finalized, they'll settle down. Or this one, which was honestly mine, maybe if I just help them understand how much this is hurting the child, they'll stop. That was the hope I had to let go of. Find your sentence, say it out loud, or write it down so it's out of your head and in front of you where you can actually look at it. And then ask yourself gently, but honestly, in all the time that you've known this person, has that thing ever once been true? Not could it be true, has it been? Because radical acceptance isn't a feeling that you sit around waiting to arrive. It's a decision that you make on purpose. The moment you set that hope down and stop spending the best of your energy waiting for someone to become a person that they've never once been, and the moment that your hands let go of that hope, is the moment that you're free to hold your child instead. This reflection sounds small, but for most parents, it's the hardest thing in this whole video because that sentence is often the last thing that's been keeping you in the fight that is draining you. I'm going to be real with you here. Accepting that this fight isn't the answer and accepting that the work belongs in your home is where your real power is. But here's the thing that almost no one says out loud. That power is frightening because it is so much easier to hand it to someone else, to a judge who will finally rule the right way, to a lawyer or a therapist or anyone who feels more qualified to protect your child than you feel. When the power sits in their hands, then fixing it is their job, not yours. And underneath all of it, the real reason we give our power away is that most of us don't actually trust ourselves to be the one our child needs, especially if no one ever did it for us. Most people in this situation didn't grow up with a parent who taught them how to feel safe or how to trust their own hearts. So the idea that we are supposed to be that for our child, especially when we're running on empty, can feel impossible. Knowing where to put your energy and knowing how to actually build emotional safety and self-trust inside your child are two different skills. The first one you can start today, and the second one is the real work. It's the work that I help parents do. So I don't want you to walk away from this feeling more overwhelmed. I want you to walk away with something I think you might not have felt in a long time, which is hope, real hope. Because if you've been believing that the courtroom was the only road to protecting your child, then every setback in the courtroom has felt like you losing, like you failing to protect your child. But that was never the only road. In fact, it's the least likely one to give your child what they actually need. The road that works runs right through your living room, in the small, ordinary, consistent moments where your child learns that here, in this home, their feelings are real and they get to trust themselves. That's the thing no court order can ever give them and no manipulative parent can take away. The ability to know deep in their own body, I matter, my heart matters. And once a child has that, it doesn't just protect them from one difficult parent. It protects them from every person they'll ever meet who tries to convince them otherwise. So here's what I want you to do. Don't focus on winning. Focus on figuring out which path your child is on right now and what to do about it, because that's the question that actually centers your child instead of the fight. And if you want help answering it honestly with someone who has both studied it and lived it, book a strategy session with me. The link is in the description. This is for the parent who is starting to realize that even winning in the courtroom isn't what will protect their child's heart, and who is ready to build the home that will. And before you go, I want to tell you what's coming. Next week, we're going to walk you through the 3 directions your child can be moving in right now, so you can see clearly which way they're leaning and what it actually means for them. Make sure you subscribe so it shows up for you when it's out. I'll see you then.